How Durex dominates social media in China. Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Clement Sang in Shanghai. Today we're bringing you the final episode of Thoughtful, sponsored by Weibo, China's leading microblogging platform, to help marketers understand this market's social media environment and use it more effectively to build online relationships with local consumers. If you'd like to hear more from the speakers in this sponsored series, Weibo is hosting a discussion site where viewers can interact with our guests and other industry members. You can access this site through the QR code on the screen or Thoughtful's Weibo account at the link below. This week, we're going behind the scenes with one of the most successful marketers using Weibo in China today. Our guest is Ben Wilson, China Marketing Director of Reckitt Benckiser, the British consumer products company that acquired Durex in 2010. An 85-year-old brand with iconic status in the West, Durex sells over a quarter of the world's condoms, but China presented RB with some major challenges. Only 1 in 10 sexually active Chinese used condoms of any brand. Counterfeit knockoffs are common for many products, including condoms. Traditional advertising costs are skyrocketing in China, making it unaffordable for all but the largest brands, and distribution beyond Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities is difficult and expensive. To address many of these issues, RB adopted an all-social and all-digital strategy for Durex with very strong results. Sales have increased threefold, the overall market for condoms grew, and the company's market share has grown to 45%. Ben, thanks for joining us today. We've just shared some of the results for your fantastic work in China. Can you tell us from the very beginning, what was the lead driver for this all-social, all-digital strategy for this market specifically?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I think 2 reasons really. Firstly, doing the traditional route in China just wasn't an option. Certainly 5 years ago, the ability to do what RB usually does, which is go on TV with Durex and really drive the awareness through, the more traditional channels, just wasn't an option for us. So we were forced to look differently. Also, really the scale of the cost of going down the traditional route just wasn't that appetizing for us. We were lucky. It's a time when really mobile was taking off, social was certainly taking off. I came to China 5 years ago. Weibo was just starting out, so it was really a time when things themselves in digital and social were really just starting. So we started to experiment. We had some fun. We had some fun with some of our friends. We found some great partners to start engaging with. And once we started getting going, it really sort of snowballed from there. And we, built on the success and kept building on the success. And, still today, building on, the success that we started 5 years ago.
So given that it's a very high involvement category, being personal use, does that mean it has a strong fit then with Weibo and with social? And how do you then work with paid earned media on Weibo? Yeah,
I think sex is a great topic. Firstly, if you look in search, around the world, typically the top words across any word in the world is typically related to sex in terms of what people are searching for. So digital and social it's just a great place to be talking about relationships, to talk about love, to talk about sex and things like that. I think the challenge for us really in China was how do we do that in a culturally relevant way? We can't be quite as overt as, I'm from the UK, where you can be quite overt in terms of the way that you engage with people and the way you start talking and having that dialogue around sex. So had to be much more culturally sensitive here. But, it's really a topic that people love to talk about, love to hear about and love to engage in really. So I think in some respects we're quite lucky because sex as a topic, love as a topic, relationships as a topic are really socially and digitally engaging.
So, and we see that you've got strong market share in China. How do you measure the year-on-year 5 years of increasing growth for the contribution that came from digital, from social? Is it brand lift? Is it sales? How do you measure social ROI?
Good question. Everyone asks me all this time, and it's always a question that comes up in the annual business plan. What's the ROI on social? To be honest, we don't measure ROI on social. I think it's impossible to measure ROI on social. The reason for it is because for us, social is about friendship, and friendship is not about expecting to get something back from someone. It's about having a friend. It's about having a relationship with a friend over the long term. Saying that, we have so many friends that are so engaged with the brand. We know that they love the brand and they use the brand as well. So as we build our friendship base, we are building the brand and building our market share within China. So I think if we look on an annual basis and if we look at things like the equity metrics, brand I love, brand for me, brand I trust. Those are really the important things that, as we've grown our base of friends in China, we've really seen those metrics transform. Now, we know those sorts of metrics translate eventually through to sales. So, can I say there's a short-term relationship between a social campaign I ran last week and sales? No. But over the last 5 years, I have more friends who are more engaged with the brand. And I think really that's the fundamental for the ROI for us.
So you've had 5-year relationships and you've gone from a product to a brand and into an emotional connection where you've got advocates now. Was there an iconic logo or a figure or an emoticon that's come out of your campaigns?
I think really you just have to look at Dudu as the personality himself. And again, this comes back to our perspective on this. This is about friendship. We have a personality, we have Dudu. That's who people engage with. So, there isn't a visual I can put my finger on, but it's just really, the personality, the person we've created, which is Dudu.
That's fantastic. And so how has RB as an organization shifted to be FanCentric to participant-centric? Have they changed the way they operate internally in order to harness this channel?
I think in China, definitely. And I would say we're not fan-centric, we're friend-centric. There's a little bit of a difference from it. I think, fan-centric is, is where brands often expect, because I have fans, and they, vote for me and things like that, that's engagement. For us, it's much more about friendship rather than fan-centric. So in China, I think, totally we're driven by friends. I think around the rest of the world, we haven't managed to replicate the magic that we have in China, but we do some really, really good friend engagement in a lot of countries now, particularly on Durex.
So given the size and the scale of the Chinese market in terms of distribution and reach, what are some of the partners that you work with over this 5-year campaign that have helped enable you to scale out this friendship campaign?
Good question. I think we've had, we have lots of partners that we work with. We have a very open ecosystem, a very open approach. The scale of the content that we need to produce means that we have many people to work with. But I think at the core of it, we have a social partner who's worked with us from the start, who has a team of people who know the brands, they know Dudu, they understand the brand, who we are, what we stand for, as well as the brand team. Sometimes I challenge the brand team, are they as connected? Are they as, understanding of the consumer as the social team are? So the social team for us is as much as part of the brand team. And I think they've been a consistent core that as we've built over the last 5 years, they've stayed with us and they've helped to build the consistency around the core. But then outside that, the numbers of partners that we work with is, constantly bringing in new people, new partners. When we have new challenges, we want different pieces of content and things like that.
Okay. And how about your experience on e-commerce? Has it been challenging? Most brands are saying, I have now 5 platforms, I don't know how to manage all of this. Our team is only 3 people. How do I manage that much logistics, that much campaign comms, that many agencies? What's your advice to your colleagues?
E-commerce for us is great. One of the biggest barriers for people buying, condoms, sex toys, pleasure gels, whichever products you look at, is always the embarrassment factor. Run into the store, grab it off the shelf, grab another load of things, put it on the case, and try and make sure that no one sees me at the checkout. So, e-commerce allows people to browse products. You can sit there on your mobile phone for 30 minutes looking at the latest sex toy, and there's no one else around you to feel the embarrassment. So, I think e-commerce, for the sorts of industry we're in, is fantastic. It is a challenge. I think, the key learning that I would share with people is just be agile. Where we started in e-commerce, 4 or 5 years ago is very different from where we are now. I can guarantee it's going to be very, very different from where we will be in, a year's time, 3 years' time, and things like that. So I think it's agility. And I think, again, it's about partners. Don't try and do everything yourself. If you try and do everything yourself, you kill yourself. And you won't be able to do it because there's loads of experts in different areas, a Tmall versus a Taobao versus a Jingdong versus some of the smaller players that are emerging and things like that. You can't master all of these and you can't stay master of all of them. But if you find the right partners, the partners who can help you, and if you create a relationship with them where they can grow with you, then I think that's really the long-term success.
So do you see any other mistakes that you've clearly identified in the market that you'd like to talk about or mention?
Any mistakes? No, I guess the topic today is about fan-centric brand building. I think for me, the biggest mistake I see is people misusing social. I think a lot of brands expect social to be a way that they can communicate brand messages and push brand messages. I think, my biggest, observation over the last 5 years is when brands do that, they get very poor engagement. And yes, you can buy KOLs who can repost things, and yes, you can get these great numbers, but you're not really creating social engagement. You may be ticking a box for senior management to say, we've got this beautiful brand content going to millions of people. It's very easy to do that, but that's not really what social is about for me. So for me, a fan-centric, a friend-centric brand is taking a very different approach. It's creating a relationship with your friends and building that relationship over a long period of time. Now, a lot of the time that doesn't involve product and brand messages. For most brand marketeers, that's pretty damn hard to accept. Because when you have to talk to your boss and your boss's boss and things like that, and you say, what content did you put out there yesterday? That's got nothing to do with the brand. Where's the brand coming through? Where's the product messaging and things like that? Brand managers typically then go back to trying to get branded messages in a social environment. People just don't want that. So I think, for Durex and for some of the other brands that I really respect in social, they've really recognized that, if you can have friends and you can engage people in a friendship relationship, that's where the magic of social lies.
Yeah. So Ben, tell me where it all started with Durex in China.
It all started about 5 years ago. Weibo was just starting out at the time, and we were just starting to experiment with social. And we decided to have a party. So we decided to have a party in Beijing. And the way we decided to do that was to basically go out to the few friends. We had about 10 friends on Weibo at the time behind Durex, and we said, go and invite 5 of your friends to come along to the party, and they can come along for free. And if they invite 5 of their friends, and they can come along for free. And that really started to create a buzz. People started inviting other friends had started inviting other friends, and really we started. And I think within the first week, we got to about 25,000 friends. And I think that was really the starting point of us understanding that Weibo was all about best friends forever. And that really fitted with our philosophy in terms of what social was. Social being about building best friends forever. So I think, then together, as Weibo started to develop new functionality and things, how people could engage with their friends, then Durex was always one of the first time users of those sorts of things. So we created quite a nice relationship with the guys at Weibo. So as they built the ways that best friends could connect, could stay connected as best friends, Durex was able to leverage those in terms of building its friendship base and the relationships it has.
Yeah, so intimate connections and relationships both for your customer and between you and Weibo.
Absolutely.
Ben, thanks for being on Thoughtful. That wraps it up for today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Youku, Tudo and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo, WeChat and Twitter, and join our LinkedIn group. See you again.